Someone in your life right now is using your emotions against you. Not randomly, not accidentally, deliberately, with precision. And the most terrifying part? They learned exactly which emotions to use by watching you. They know what makes you defensive. They know what makes you feel guilty. They know exactly which words will make you doubt yourself and which tone will make you comply. They built that map from every unguarded moment you gave them. And right now, in your closest relationships, in your workplace, in your social circle, that map is being used. Every time they need something from you, every time they need you to back down, every time they need you to stay small. This is not paranoia. This is pattern recognition. And once you see the pattern, once you understand exactly how your emotions are being weaponized against you, you cannot be run by that weapon anymore. You have been losing arguments you should have won, not because your position was wrong, but because your emotions were louder than your logic. You have been giving things you did not want to give, not from generosity, but from the anxiety of what happens if you don't. You have been staying in situations that cost you, not from weakness, but from the emotional hooks that were carefully embedded in you over time. Guilt, obligation, fear of abandonment, fear of their anger, all of it installed, none of it yours. This video is the removal of those hooks, one by one, with the precision of a man who has finally understood what was done to him and decided it will not be done again. The Stoics called what you are about to learn apatheia, not apathy, not coldness, the freedom from being controlled by involuntary emotional responses, the most misunderstood and most powerful state a man can occupy. Stay with this, because what you are about to understand about how your emotions have been used against you will permanently change every relationship, every negotiation, and every room you walk into. They are using your emotions against you. That ends now. Let's begin. Let us start with what they told you about emotions. Feel them fully. Express them openly. Your emotions are valid. Vulnerability is strength. The more you share what you feel, the deeper and more authentic your connections will be. And in the right relationships, with the right people, at the right moments, every word of that is true. The problem is that nobody taught you how to identify which relationships, which people, and which moments qualify. So you applied it everywhere, and not everyone deserved it. Because for every person who receives your emotional openness with genuine care, there are others who receive it as intelligence, as a user manual, as a detailed guide to what buttons to press when they need you to do something. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Understanding how emotional manipulation works is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It is about developing the discernment to know who has earned your emotional access and who is using it. The people who have been using your emotions against you did not announce their intention. They built the exploitation gradually, through small tests, through careful observation, through the patient accumulation of knowledge about what moves you. They learned that guilt makes you apologize for things that are not your fault. They learned that your fear of conflict makes you capitulate before you have thought through your position. They learned that your need for approval makes you perform for people who have already decided what they think of you. Comment right now, which of those three do you recognize most in yourself? Guilt, conflict avoidance, need for approval? Just name it, because the one you name is the one you can start to detach from. And here's the most important thing nobody tells you about emotional manipulation. It does not require malice. Some of the people using your emotions against you are not evil. They are simply doing what works. And it works because you have never withdrawn the access. The withdrawal of that access, not through anger, not through walls, but through the deliberate development of emotional detachment, is what this video is about. And the philosophy that maps it most precisely is Stoicism. Not the Instagram version of Stoicism, not the don't feel anything caricature, the actual philosophy, precise, demanding, and more relevant to your life right now than anything else you will read this year. Epictetus understood emotional weaponization at a level most modern men never reach, because he experienced it its most extreme form. He was a slave. His body was owned. His freedom was owned. But his response to his circumstances, nobody could touch that. And what he built from that position, the philosophy of what is in your control and what is not, is the most precise map ever created for understanding how emotional manipulation operates and how to withdraw from its reach. Epictetus did not write about detachment as an absence. He wrote about it as a presence, the presence of the self that cannot be moved by what has not earned the right to move it. That distinction is the entire philosophy in one sentence. Before we get to his lessons, meet him properly, because to use his ideas, you need to understand the conditions under which he developed them. The most extreme emotional pressure test in human history, and he passed it. Because if you think your social environment is demanding, Marcus Aurelius governed an empire of 60 million people while being surrounded by men who spent their entire careers trying to read his face and use what they found. Epictetus, born about the things. Read that again. Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. Not by what is done to them, by what they tell themselves about what is done to them. That is where the manipulation lives, not in the event, in your interpretation of it. When someone uses guilt against you, they are not actually producing guilt. They are producing a situation they hope you will interpret requiring guilt. The guilt is your opinion, your interpretation, and opinions, Epictetus said, are in your control. This is not victim blaming. This is the most empowering idea in the history of philosophy. If your emotional response is produced by your interpretation, and your interpretation is in your control, then your emotional response to manipulation is in your control. The weapon has no power without your cooperation. Now, the lessons, 6 of them. Each one a specific application of Epictetus's framework to the exact emotional manipulation techniques being used against you right now. Starting with the most fundamental. Lesson 1. The dichotomy of control. Epictetus's foundational idea. Everything in existence falls into one of 2 categories: what is in your control and what is not. And the confusion of these 2 categories is the source of every successful emotional manipulation. What is in your control, your judgments, your intentions, your responses, your values. What is not in your control, everything else. Every person's opinion of you, every outcome you pursue, every circumstance you inhabit, every action another person takes. Emotional manipulation always works by making you feel emotionally invested in what is not in your control, making you feel responsible for other people's emotional state, making you feel guilty for circumstances you did not create, making you feel anxious about outcomes you cannot determine. The moment you clearly understand what is and is not in your control, the manipulation loses its lever. You cannot be made to feel responsible for what you did not create. You cannot be made anxious about what you cannot determine. The dichotomy is the first line of defense. Comment. Think of the last time you felt emotionally responsible for something that was not in your control. What specifically did someone do or say to produce that feeling? Name the mechanism. Lesson 2. Guilt, the most commonly deployed emotional weapon in the human arsenal. Guilt works by making you feel responsible for someone else's emotional state, and therefore obligated to alter your behavior to relieve it. The guilt deployer says, explicitly or through implication, "You have hurt me," and your emotional architecture, trained from childhood to take responsibility for the people around you, immediately begins searching for what you did wrong. Epictetus's response to guilt is precise. Whose opinion is this guilt? Yours or the one installed in you by someone who benefits from your guilt? If the guilt serves someone else's agenda more than your values, it is not your guilt. It is their tool wearing your emotional face. Ask this question every time guilt arrives. Did I genuinely violate